So as I understand it, we pause. Take a breath, but not to waste any of Tom's time.
No, you're not wasting any. It's really a pleasure to speak to you.
Okay, well, in take one, we get to spend time with Tom Hiddleston, which was a fabulous thing. The Essex Serpent, the new TV show on Apple TV+. But the great thing about having take two is that we can spend more time with Tom. And we can have more expansive questions. The one that I didn't have time just to mention before we delve straight into this, Tom, is I have found a connection between Loki and the Reverend Will Ransom.
Terrific. This is great. I'm always looking for connections.
Okay.
I'm all ears.
So if I understand it right, according to mythology, Loki is the father of the wolf Fenrir, also the father of the serpent Jörmungandr. And
10 points to Gryffindor. Yes.
There you go. Thank you.
Amazing.
Loki's also impregnated by a stallion and gives birth to an 8-legged horse, but that's for the TV series.
Yeah, but who hasn't done that?
We have. Yes, we haven't quite covered that yet in the MCU.
So look, when we were talking about Essex Serpent, we talked about Clio Barnard. Looking down your filmography, Joanna Hogg, obviously unrelated in Archipelago being really important early on in your career. Terry Davis, Deep Blue Sea. Jim Jarmusch for Only Lovers. Ben Wheatley with High Rise. Guillermo del Toro for Crimson Peak. Of all of those directors that you've worked with, who are the ones that you've had the best experiences with? And this doesn't mean pick ones you like and therefore everybody else is offended, but which are the ones that leap out to you as the ones that you've had the best experiences of working with those filmmakers?
Well, the first one I feel just leaps out into my mind is Joanna Hogg. Because I feel so fortunate that she and I met at the time we did. And I think I was very young and straight out of drama school, and she introduced me to. It's interesting because I had a good time at drama school, sort of comparatively, and there's all kinds of things that actors learn: skills, techniques, ways into text, physical training and sort of dance and all kinds of other things. But there was something about meeting Joanna where suddenly it wasn't about any of that. And she introduced me to the idea of cinema as life, and that the camera is interested in life. It's not particularly interested in preparation or technique. And that if it's an art form that wants to reflect life and move people with laughter or reflection or tears, it needs to be alive. She was an amazing teacher. In the best way is that great teachers don't proclaim them to be teachers. They just quietly teach you. And we learnt a lot from each other, I think, making Unrelated and Archipelago. They were very free and deep experiences. So I just had a great time with her. And it's amazing to see her soar with her latest work. And in your list, you mentioned, I had a wonderful time with Guillermo del Toro, who is, as you know, an encyclopedia of cinema.
He is.
And his mastery of his craft is near complete, I think. And it was just huge fun. It's quite a pained, there's a lot of pain in that film. But strangely enough, it was great fun to be in his company. And we had a great rapport, and it was a wonderful crew. And so, he made a big impact. Also, the precision. He's so precise. I don't think I've ever worked with anyone quite so precise as Guillermo. Everything you see, he has carefully chosen. Everything. And there's a sort of totality of imagining I find very impressive. Jim Jarmusch, too, I have to mention, just was so soulful and poetic and generous. And that...
And
great hair. Yeah.
Great hair.
Yeah. He was very kind. He was very kind to me. And that's a very, very memorable experience, actually, working with Tilda and the late John Hurt, who was a great hero of mine. And I loved working with him. And also the late Anton Yelchin and the great Mia Wasikowska. It was an amazing, amazing bunch.
We've been sent a lot of fantastic questions from listeners. Someone, I think he's called Kiarins. Apologies if I've got that wrong. The question is this, Tom. I really loved the Pompeii scene in the second episode of Loki where he speaks in Latin. You did a very good and impressive job, and your pronunciation was perfect, though how anyone knows how Latin was actually spoken, I don't know. Was there, asked the question here, was there a Latin author that you particularly loved during your classical studies?
Good heavens, what a specific question. Thank you for the compliment about my Latin. You're quite right, Simon. Who knows how Latin is supposed to be spoken? I sort of did a sort of hybrid of schoolboy Latin and the kind of chorister's Latin, sounding more Italian. But the goats in that scene stole the show anyway. My favourite Latin author, probably Ovid. I loved Ovid.
Yes, I love a bit of Ovid.
Yeah. I do. I'm never without. Never far from that.
Where would you start
witty.
with it?
Yeah.
Where should we start with Ovid?
The Metamorphoses, maybe. They're good stories of change and transformation. Yeah. And then, of course, you realise that Ovid, it's like he becomes a kind of template for all these amazing sculptors in the Renaissance. So all the great sculptors of the Renaissance, they've all read their Ovid, and they're doing all the metamorphoses in their sculptures, which are all up in museums in Rome, if you fancy it. So.
Right, very good.
I loved High Rise. I'm a big Ben Wheatley fan.
Me too.
And
I didn't get around to Ben. Oh my goodness.
No, but I was going to say, here's the thing about High Rise. So when you were doing High Rise, I know that you had the suit done, and because I know the tailor who had your, and the suit was sort of taken, and you looked fabulous in that suit. There was a suggestion at one point that you were going to wear another suit, Tom. That you were going to wear the 007 suit. What's happening?
Oh, you're so tabloid,
Mark. I have no idea. That was didn't know where that was going about the tailoring. Yes, Chris Kerr, the great tailor, made that suit for
the great Chris Kerr.
For Dr. Lang.
I have to tell you, after that, I went and got a suit made by him, and I said I want it to look like Tom Hiddleston in High Rise, and he went, "Yeah, in your dreams."
Well, I think we were modelling ourselves. Well, there were lots of photographs of gentlemen from the 70s. They had the sort of wide lapel, the sort of slightly flared trouser, but not too flared because he's a doctor. But yeah, the other I don't know what you're talking about in terms of the other thing you mentioned, Mark. It's that's above my station and beyond my ken.
So here's another listener question from someone who calls themselves Loki Odinson.
Okay.
I would like to know what helps Tom when he's feeling low. Things that make him smile, favourite shops, restaurants, cafes and comfort food. And I'd like to thank him for his portrayal of Loki. He's saved me more than once, and I'm grateful for him and for Tom. So, stuff that cheers you up.
Music, friendship, the sea, Roger Federer, dogs, dancing.
This is like random word association.
Yeah. So if you could go for a walk with Roger Federer's dog along the sea,
you'd be made up.
With family.
I'd be made up. Yeah, that would be fantastic.
Do you have a favourite comfort food? That was also
comfort food. Spaghetti bolognese is you can't go wrong with that.
And do you have a favourite comfort music? Because I mean, obviously, we did I Saw the Light, and you can play that stuff and you can sing it. It's brilliant. But is that something that you would listen to, or are your tastes more classical?
My tastes are all over the place.
What was the last album you bought?
The last full album. Goodness, you see, I'm a hopeless sort of. I tend to roam, and the last full album. Am I allowed to consult with my telephone and see what it was?
As long as it doesn't come off our time allocation.
Okay. Hang on a sec. Here we go. Oh no, how do I get back? I'll keep talking.
Old man looks at phone.
Old man looks at phone. Here we go. Where's the purchased one? They always have purchased, don't they, in your playlist? It's coming.
This is radio gold, isn't it? It's absolute radio gold.
I imagine if you're Tom Hiddleston, you get everything for free.
It's a Hamilton. The Hamilton soundtrack is there, so there's that.
Okay.
But if I were to roam around my Spotify, it goes all over the place. You've got soundtracks. You've got Nile Rodgers. Nile Rodgers is very cheery, by the way. Anything by Nile Rodgers.
Very cheery.
What was I listening to? Valaria by the Gypsy Kings. Oh, here we go. I went to see the revival of Anything Goes in the autumn at the Barbican, and I had forgotten how cheering and optimistic and upbeat those tunes are. And so I found myself in the sort of COVID mist or COVID fog, listening to Anything Goes. There it is.
Very nice.
Very good.
All those Cole Porter numbers. You can't go wrong with Cole Porter, surely.
We were talking about that earlier when we were reminiscing about Indiana Jones and that incredible opening in Temple of Doom, which is too Anything Goes.
That's right.
Yeah,
it's the whole
Kate
sequence.
Capshaw performs Anything Goes rather
Yes,
brilliantly.
actually my first encounter with that song.
Here's an interesting question. Sarah Dixon says, Tom, I've always wondered how you decompress after coming off stage after such highly emotive stage roles such as Coriolanus and Robert in Betrayal, and whether there were any differences in how you approach these characters compared to film roles. So it's kind of, there's two questions there about approaching the character, but also decompressing after coming off stage.
So it sounds so unpoetic, but I'm usually just extremely hungry and want to have a hamburger or something like it. Yes, good idea to get home as soon as possible and get back into one's life. Sometimes I would watch Newsnight. That seems paradoxical, but I would find Newsnight oddly reassuring, catching up on the events of the day.
Really?
I mean, not reassuring, sort of turbulent and panic making.
Turbulently reassuring.
Yeah, but back in the day, as opposed to the character, I guess, or the world of the play. Approaching different characters, just Robert in Betrayal and Coriolanus are so different in a way. Yeah, curious. Coriolanus Marcius is so honest, and so his soul is kind of born on his heart. He's an external character. He's sort of the shape of him in the world is who he is. When he walks, he moves like an engine. So says one of the characters. He is changed from man to dragon. So it was about kind of inhabiting the size of that shape and his the passion of his anger. And Robert is completely interior, I found. All that anger is sublimated. And it was much more about Pinter always suggests these kind of currents of emotion underneath the words. With Shakespeare, everything is in the words, and with Pinter, everything's happening between and around and underneath the words somehow. So quite different experiences, actually.
Can I drag you briefly away from theatre to cinema? Do you still go to the pictures? And if so, what have you seen recently that you've loved?
I do still go to the pictures. We had a very good time at No Time to Die. Saw that on opening weekend. Really exciting to see that on the big screen. Dune, I thought was extraordinary. I was kind of overwhelmed by the vision of. I think Denis Villeneuve is one of the most exciting directors working today, and went to see Annette, which I thought was incredibly surprising.
It's fabulous.
Yeah, really great, and appreciated that Adam Driver's doing a lot of heavy lifting with that puppet. Sometimes, working opposite a puppet, you're sort of, you're not getting much back from your scene partner. But what else have I seen at the movies? Belfast was amazing. I'm probably missing a load of things out.
I'm glad you loved Belfast, because I was just in Belfast this weekend, and the really lovely thing was a load of people were quite sniffy about it, except in Belfast, where they all loved it.
Of course they did. Yeah. It's about their town. Oh, I just found it incredibly warm-hearted and poignant.
It's a lovely film.
Tom, our time is up. My final observation, as we say goodbye, is that Mark, this has been a long-running thing on the programme. When we talk about Jaws, he always says, it's not about the shark. Now, this has been obviously conclusively proven wrong, because Steven Spielberg told us specifically that it was.
But what does he know? What does he know? He just made it. I watched it.
So my question to you, Tom, about your TV show, The Essex Serpent, is this. It's not about the serpent, is it?
It's 100% about the serpent.
Oh, there you go.
I mean, it's about the serpent and it isn't about the serpent.
Ah.
How about that?
That's very good.
It's very diplomatic.
It is. Tom, it's always a pleasure to speak to you. Thank you very much indeed. We look forward to the whole series of the Essex Serpent, and I think you're an Arctic explorer next, which we look forward to as well. Thank you so
Antarctic,
much.
I think.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Antarctic.
Yeah.
Thank you. Wrong end of the earth. But apart from that, it was-
We're close, literally the wrong side of the planet. But hey,
It's
Tom,
icy.
thank you very
It's gonna be
much.
Icy,
it's going to be
Yeah.
cold. Yeah.
Thank you both. I really appreciate it.
So thanks to Tom Hiddleston. So much bonus content is